Mom, how many days until my birthday?
3.
3 days?
3 days. These flowers are so
Hi,
pretty.
Elizabeth.
How did you get out here? Big giant dog. Big giant dog. You always find me. Yes, you do. Alrighty. Gotta come in here and fill in some more sunflowers in this little sunflower bed I threw together. It's being overtaken by grass and weeds though. I think this is maybe a mallow. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm digging the variegation on these 2 sunflowers. This one is some kind of black sunflower. It's either black strawberry, black cherry, giant black. I don't know. I ordered a ton. Oh, I ordered a ton of random sunflower seeds on Etsy last year in search of the black strawberry, right? Black strawberry sunflower, I'm pretty sure is what it was. And I did get some of those seeds from Baker Creek, but I also went on Etsy and I found like 7 different seed suppliers, sellers that had different black sunflowers. So several of these are some of those. Not this one. This one is a volunteer that I transplanted and I didn't think it was gonna make it, but it seems like it has. We got some Wild Morning Glory, or what is it called? Chokeweed. I'm pretty sure it's called chokeweed because it chokes things. Oh, we got a pollinator here. Sorry, there's no flowers. We're getting close though. But yeah, this is gonna be an epically beautiful sunflower. I'm stoked. A little bit of pollinator magic. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is.
Don't let it see you.
Okay, friends. It is just a regular old day around here, but I figured I would turn the camera on and do kind of a garden tour throughout the day. I'm just spending today with my kids. We're not doing anything special, just relaxing together. But I figured, yeah, I would just turn the camera on here and there and show you guys how the garden's looking. So I'm going to show you the pollinator paradise area out in front of the house first, because it's starting to bloom and it's so pretty. Okay, so here it is. I've also got a bunch of tomatoes planted in here because I just ran out of space in the backyard for tomatoes, and I just, of course, planted too many. I also planted some tomatillos out here. There is okra and sunflowers seeded in here, but I'm kind of not managing this area. I'm just mulching it really heavily and letting the rain water it for the most part because I just don't have enough hose to get over here. But you can see there's these coneflowers. They haven't fully bloomed yet, but they're kind of close, I think. We got orach up in here, the bachelor's buttons, yarrow, and the showstopper is the coreopsis, of course. Coreopsis is looking gorgeous. I love that vibrant yellow. It's so pretty. We got a ton of pollinators out here. Yeah, tomatoes are already flowering. So I just come out here and I mulch it every time we mow. I'm just trying to slowly move down this hillside and turn it into just all flowers. It did get some herbicide drift, so some of the stuff is funky. You can see like this is sunflower is kind of weird from the herbicide drift. I gotta come out here and cut more thistles out of the fence line. But the comfrey is okay. This coreopsis is the only, or is this a penstemon? I don't know. This is the only really one that got damaged from the herbicide drift. They're all kind of mutated and yucky looking. I don't know if they'll actually flower, but at least the comfrey is okay. The comfrey didn't get damaged. This comfrey and this one. So it's safe. We got some sunnies. I did transplant 2 hollyhocks. There's one here and one here, but they don't look good. I know, Bones. He doesn't like me being out here. And look, my Russian sage is kind of like spreading or something. I don't know. I got to get in there and probably prune it a little bit. But yeah, there you have it. It's a pretty simple space. Nothing too special, but just trying to utilize this side of the house and make it look a little bit prettier. I figure I might as well show you guys the front beds too. They're nothing special, just a bunch of shade plants, hostas, and a bunch of other things. But they're looking really pretty, I think. I got some bronze Dutch clover, and then these, what are these? Bugleweed. I got 2 different bugleweeds and lily of the valley. Right here we got a lily of the valley. It's kind of small, but they're coming along. Finally figured out a way to fill these beds out. It's got to be hostas. They're like the only thing that really does well here because we just don't get enough sun. And then columbine. I'm actually going to put more columbine probably down in a few more of these because it likes deep shade. And then I got this beautiful Swedish ivy that my mama gave me. That'll end up being a houseplant that comes inside. Okay, so right here at the front of the garden, there's like a tomato here in this pot, but I have these beautiful honeysuckle plants. Forgive the mess. We're garden touring before the garden is clean, but I have these beautiful honeysuckle plants that my mom got me, and they are gorgeous. I have a dahlia, 2 dahlias, 2 different kinds I planted in this terracotta pot, so I'm hoping that they like that. I got a big kind of border of all different kinds of stuff. Some I planted and some that has just volunteered. So we got chives, and this is mountain penstemon. It's like a really pretty purple flower. There's some borage, however you pronounce it, that's self-seeded, and some yarrow, more chives, and down here we have bachelor buttons. But right here in the front, we got this big, beautiful row of potatoes with the sugar magnolia snap peas in behind. There we go. Good enough. They are gorgeous. I also have some other peas that are kind of more of a bush variety down here. We got a row of brassicas back here that's not doing so good. You can see the flower on the potatoes there. The pollinators love these. Most of the time they won't produce a berry, but if they do, they're actually toxic, so you can pluck the flowers off. You don't need the flower for them to produce the potatoes. And here's that broccoli. We've got a couple little florets coming in here. There's one. Here's the best one, but not the greatest, so I don't know. I'm half tempted to pull it out. And then here in this row are my large barred boar tomatoes, so that's exciting. There's a bunch of other volunteers in here. There's like obviously some dill. We've got like a bells of Ireland here and a dandelion. I'll have to pull that dandelion out. Some bachelor's button, calendula up here. And then here's a row of Ace 55 tomatoes that are still pretty small, but they were planted in after the carrots. So here's one of the tomatoes. We got a cilantro. The cilantro is almost done. We're going to be cutting that all out. And here's a tomato. And then there's just 2 or 3 rows of carrots on either side of these tomatoes that I planted in first. And then I just kind of planted the tomatoes in all the gaps where the carrots didn't germinate, because carrots love tomatoes. You can see I've got some volunteer orach in there too. And then lettuce I sprinkled in throughout. I sprinkle lettuce all over the place, so it's really common for you to see like things like excuse me, it's really common for me to just open sow things like lettuce, dill, that kind of stuff. So we've got some Rube Diver and then some Butter Crunch lettuce, and that looks like that might be a Paris Island Cost maybe. And then here's one more row of brassicas that is also being taken over by the volunteers, and kind of some sunflowers. The kids appealed to me because they wanted me to keep these sunflowers because they came up right on either side of the pathway, so we can walk through them, and they're gonna get really big and glorious, so I just figured why not. I did pull potatoes out of here. My very first row that I planted of potatoes, we pulled out of here because it just wasn't doing good. It gets way too much shade over here. They just weren't producing, and I'm gonna just sow in some shade-loving things and wildflowers. And yeah, that's kind of this garden. Out there on the corner is a raspberry and a tomato. But this is another row that I'm half tempted to get rid of in place of something like beets or something. I'm over here filming my garden.
You're always in the garden.
I'm not always in the garden.
Yeah, baby, you are.
Okay. Okay, I was massively distracted. Spencer came home on his lunch break to take Murphy to lunch, and then I just haven't been back out here until now. I made myself a fancy little drink. I brewed basil tea from the garden yesterday, and there's a lot of it, and then I made simple syrup from strawberries from the freezer. So strawberry simple syrup, basil tea, and just some ice. Oh, I do love an adult beverage, but sometimes the child in me just loves a fancy juice. So I like having a little fun thing to sip on when I wander around the garden. So I was showing you guys the in-ground garden, and it's kind of a mess right now. There's just a lot of weeds, and I still have a couple spots that still have silage tarp on them. I didn't show you guys that because, well, I guess we can walk back out there. And here we are walking through. Actually, I need to turn the sprinkler on. Oh, and get a bowl out of here. But so here it is. Like, this part gets really trampled. It's in not very good shape. The fence is broken down really bad. The onions and cabbages are kind of struggling because kids and dogs, like, I don't know why the onions specifically. The toddler has just like decided to walk all over them, and it's just, I don't know. He respects the other rows, but just not so much the onions. I've just been shoving in random tomatoes. This part of the garden is really difficult because it's hard to tell right now because it's the evening, not really, well, I guess late afternoon. This part of the garden gets a lot of shade, so stuff just doesn't do good here once these trees fill out. We have these two beautiful ash trees, and once they fill out, like, this part of the garden really struggles. So there's not really much I can do about that. I plant stuff in it anyways, but these back pieces are just covered in silage tarp to kill weeds and grass, and I'm not sure what I'll plant back there. I'm actually partially thinking I might plant garlic in the ground back here, because in the springtime, this spot gets a lot of sun because the trees aren't filled out. Oh, and then here is my leek and celery bed. Leek and celery do well together, and there's a couple onions that accidentally got in here with the leeks, but same kind of situation. And then peas right here in the front. These are just like a bush pea. They're flowering now, so we'll be picking on those here soon. But yes, celery. The celery is doing actually really good. It's a good celery year for me, guys. I've been trying to get celery to grow since we moved here, and I just haven't had it go as well as it is now. So it must like this spot when in the partial shade. It's really happy back here. This is like one of my favorite views. Though we're in the city, I really do love this little nook back in here in the trees. It just makes me feel like it's secret garden-ish, and I love it. Hopefully we'll be harvesting potatoes out of here soon. This row of potatoes is insane. It's past my knee. It's almost like hip height. It's crazy. And then the I already showed you guys these, but I love them so much. I just have to show it again. We do have a couple little peas here coming on. So coming out here, you can see this tomato here again. I have lettuce that we just harvested out of here. It's coming back already. Nasturtium, onion, some cilantro. And this guy, I'm just gonna keep attaching it to the trellis and let it go up. But look at these. Gosh, I love them so much. This orange is just gorgeous. I love how the inside is like a different color of orange. Oh, we've got a bee friend. We've got a bee friend. Okay, out here I cut holes in landscape fabric and I put all of our like vining pumpkins and squashes. They're all 4 feet apart and there's 2 sewn in each. Some of them have 1 because the one didn't make it. They've gotten real beat up, but they're still hanging on. And if they get killed, we'll just resew them. And then here we got a Napa Chardonnay tomato. I love this pot, but I never know what to do with it. I had a houseplant that died in it, so I just figured I'd put a tomato in it. Probably not a good enough size for a tomato, but it'll be fine. We'll just let it vine up the fence or something. And then the raspberry I was saying, here are the girls' raised beds. So Murphy's is always like a beautiful hodgepodge of, there's always peas, because she loves peas. There's always peas in there, but there's also kale, dill, I did put a cucamelon in there for her because she does love a cucamelon. I'm gonna try to pickle some of those maybe for her because she has some dill in here. And then I don't know how a tomatillo got in here. I think we added compost to the top of this because I have no idea where this tomatillo came from. But we'll be getting peas here off that soon. And then Ireland, of course, she has the bells of Ireland in her bed. This is probably one of the most beautiful bells of Ireland plants I have seen in a long time. Mine just keep self-seeding and they always end up a little bit scraggly from just being in weird places, but this one, these are absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I love the smell. They have this interesting, tangy, fruity, citrusy thing going on. And then she's got a beautiful Marvel of 4 Seasons lettuce in there. Oh, I love that. It's like a red butter lettuce. Oh, it's so nice. And then the violas, of course. Look at the textures and like the layers. It's just, even Murphy's is really cool. I love seeing how kids want to plant. Their gardens always end up really cool because, you know, they just are so creative. And so I really try to let them have free reign. Sometimes I do cheat a little bit and come put, whoa, look at that root from this bindweed. Look at that root, that is insane. Holy cow, that thing is like over a foot long. Yep, bindweed. That stuff is hardcore. It'll choke other plants. And then here is my strawberry and onion bed. This is also kind of just a funny hodgepodge that I threw together because this is the plants that I had that needed to go in the ground at the time. And it's actually doing really good. The strawberries, I think these are all an ever-bearing variety. They are beginning to put off runners. We've got no fruit yet. We had one flower, I plucked it just to encourage root and runner growth. So we've got runners coming out. Look at that. Every day there's a new runner, you guys. It's really cool. They're really starting to blow up. And then we've got a borage that just like threw itself in here, which is cool, whatever. Borage leaves, the chickens love them, but they're also a good live like green mulch. You can just chop and drop them. We got some nasturtiums, calendula, another little Marvel of 4 Seasons lettuce. These ended up everywhere. Calendula. Look at these beautiful onions, you guys. It's about the size of a golf ball. Got another one here. Look at that. That's exciting. So the red onions will be coming out, and this is why I did this too, is because these strawberries will not fill out this bed. Even if they were given the entire space to themselves, they would not fill out this bed in 1 year. So I felt comfortable putting a short season variety like these onions. I think these are a 95-day variety in here, and by the time these are going to be harvested and they're coming out, the strawberries will really be needing that space. So we're just trying to utilize as much space as we can. In backyard gardens, we're allowed to kind of cheat a little bit on spacing requirements and just put things in wherever, because not everything is permanent. These strawberries will be permanent, but the onions can fill in this space, you know, until the strawberries actually need it. And I'm stoked. I don't think I've ever grown this many good red onions. I do come out here and I kind of loosen the soil around the bulbs as they grow. It really just helps them to expand with little resistance around them. I'm really digging this part of the garden right now. We're back over by the deck. The catmint is just exploding. It's the biggest it's been. It's the cool thing about perennials, guys, is that the faster you get them in, the faster they just mature and they just get bigger every year. I just can't wait for this thing. Oh, it's so lovely. The bees have been all over it today. So I have a random hodgepodge up here. I have all of my, you know, started plants that I still have way too many. I'm probably gonna have to compost some of them because I just have way too many tomatoes. The other ones I have space for, just not all the tomatoes. But this is just mostly perennials. This is kind of my cottage garden, but I also let things self-seed. So here we've got 2 different kinds of bee balm, Monardas. We've got a red one and then a pink one. And then this is where my, oh, there's some weeds and stuff. There's a bachelor button right here. But this is where my ground cherries self-seed every year. And I just kind of let it happen. This is like way too many ground cherries, I think, for this space. But I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm going to let it happen. Or maybe I'll try to transplant some of them. I don't know. We'll see. But then we have some yarrow over here. This is a red variety of yarrow. And then I have a yellow one back here. I had to deadhead it because the one flower that it had was just looking really sad. As you can see, I kind of practice like a really lazy garden method. I have, look, there's a little hollyhock seedling, another tomatillo, but I just chop things and drop things and let things decompose into the ground by themselves. Like I just pull weeds and kind of pull what I can, but a lot of the time I just let my garden kind of go wild. The grass is actually the worst thing. It's way worse than the weeds for me here. See, look, there's a borage that's just self-seeding. Another ground cherry, you guys. They're everywhere. Look at these ground cherries. These are both Pantheon zucchini squashes. There's 2 of them. That's probably all we'll need as far as zucchini squash for the year. More borage, bachelor's buttons that are just everywhere. Here's a nasturtium, peony, rose. Oh, this is so bad, you guys. This is like parsley and sunflowers and violas and a rose. It's all buried in grass. Like you can see this really tall thing. It's just grass, you guys. The grass is so bad. I'm constantly fighting with it. But we have a couple blanket flowers. We have one here and one over there. We got this big thing is an echinacea. We've got some lupine, however you pronounce it, cabbage, thyme. What is this one? This one is, shoot, what was that called? It's called, lemon verbena, you guys. Oh my goodness. It's divine the way it smells. And there's just like bachelor buttons everywhere in here, you guys. It's kind of crazy. What else? This is just a crazy assortment. So there's like a dianthus of some kind here. Thyme. This is like an elfin thyme. It doesn't really smell like anything, but it's supposed to be like a fun little ground cover and spread. Sage. Another sage. That's like a salvia sage. I put some zinnias in here, but they are like so sad, you guys. There's one right there too. And then this one, but they're just like so sad. Oh my goodness. It doesn't help that my brother's dog was here the other day, and then her and Bones are just terrorists to the garden because they just play and they jump in everything. It just drives me crazy. Another cabbage. I read in one of my companion planting books that cabbages like aromatic herbs, so that's why I put them over here. They are kind of getting either killed by my kids or bugs. I can't really tell. If it's kids, I feel like maybe it's kids because my kids like to rip leaves off of stuff, so that happens. So it could be anything. So there's some cabbages, there's a rosemary, coral bells, what is this, sweet marjoram, and then I have lemon balms. I'm not sure what this is. I think this is a black-eyed Susan that I transplanted. Chamomile, tomatillos, you guys. Oh my gosh, I keep pulling tomatillos out. Oh, there's two back there too, right here behind the black-eyed Susan. There's just, it's insane. The tomatillos are taking over my life. There's echinacea, and then there's like actually a sunflower coming up here. Calendula, there's a rose here that got kind of beat up by the dogs, but it's still alive. And then there's two parsley. There's one on either side. What else? Oh, there's a aster. An aster with a viola in front of it. So cute. All my chives are looking so sad now. They're like basically done. Oh, this is my grapevine. It came back. I'm very surprised. I thought it was done for. Oh, and then I have calendula. I didn't say, like, this is a calendula. Here's a calendula. And then these two big things are poppies. So it's just a random thing, you guys. I'm just plugging in plants everywhere because I want this eventually. It looks kind of bare and awkward right now, but eventually there will be bachelor buttons all throughout this thing because they're all tiny. In like 2 or 3 weeks, they'll be huge. A lot of these plants will be filling in, but the goal here is to have a like layered and textured cottage style garden that blooms throughout the season. So we have the chives, they're already done. What, you know, the violas are kind of hanging out and doing their thing. The calendula just started blooming. The rudbeckia or the black-eyed Susans, I'm not sure what, I think they're maybe the rudbeckia, I don't know. Anyways, those will be blooming in July. I mean, the tomatillos are gonna start. The chamomile will be probably blooming in July. Like, it'll just be a thing where once one thing passes through its blooming season, then another thing will pick it up. Hopefully we'll have roses sometime soon, hopefully, if that happens. So anyways, I'm probably going to be moving stuff around in this garden for the next year or two anyways, because some of these chives are just awkward the way they're placed, and like the poppies, I just randomly stuck them in here, but they're an annual, I think, and so they'll just seed themselves. So that's kind of what I want this to establish. Like, we'll have the perennials that come back every year, like the echinacea, we'll have the roses, we'll have the chives, and then everything else will kind of like seed itself and spread itself, hopefully. I don't know how many of these herbs will make it through the winter. My plan, my desired goal would be to mulch this really, really well, like super well with a bunch of straw, to see if I can save some of the perennials. Because I know the rosemary won't make it. I don't know about the sage or the lemon verbena or any of the thymes. The marjoram, the lemon balm didn't make it last year, so I'm not sure if they'll make it again this year. We'll just have to see how that goes. So unfortunately, this bed is actually really ugly right now. My son actually chopped a bunch of plants up and it's starting to fill back in now, but it looked really awkward and yucky for a while. So the hollyhocks are just going to be sad this year, unfortunately. Coming down here though, we have this clematis vine that I'm not really sure what I'm doing with right now. I've just got it hooked on the wall. Ghetto, in a ghetto way. This rose is big though. I'm kind of wondering if I should have pruned it or if I still should prune it. It doesn't have a rose developing on it yet, but I think it's only supposed to be like 2 to 3 feet tall. It's a tea rose, so I mean, should I prune that thing? I don't know, guys, let me know. And then I heard that roses and tomatoes do well together, so I planted in some tomatoes that I had because I had extra here along the house. And then here is a honeysuckle my mama gave me. The plan is to get like a cattle panel, and we'll have that honeysuckle going up that way, and then maybe another cattle panel, and we'll have the clematis going up that way. Okay, now here's like the crowning jewel of the garden. We have tons of stuff going on here too. So I'm finally using my big pots again. I have a ton of these big pots, and they are the best for tomatoes, even cucumbers and other sort of cucurbits and stuff. They work really well. This bed is like super hodgepodge because I just started throwing stuff in it And I already have harvested some things out of it. So look at this bed is the bed that I chose to leave the tomatillos in. So I have volunteer tomatillos. Oh, is that a Japanese beetle? Oh my goodness, what is that? Oh my goodness, friends. I don't know what that is. I'm learning about new pests all the time too, because we didn't really have pests back where I came from. Anywho, so we'll have to see let me see where my phone is. Take a picture of this guy. Oh, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Oh, there are eggs, friends. There are eggs present. That is not great. But you know, this is new to me. I don't know much about Japanese beetles. We'll just see what happens. At least I don't know. I don't even know if that's what that was. Anyways, so these are my tomatillos. They self-seed themselves all over my garden in our compost and everything, because we feed everything to the chickens, and then the compost from the chickens is what feeds the garden. So we get tomatillos everywhere, and I just cannot pick enough of the fruit, you guys. It's insane how much fruit these tomatillos produce. I just cannot keep up with it. So if you don't know anything about tomatillos, they are a nightshade, like tomatoes and peppers and potatoes, but they need a pollinator friend. So you must have at least 2 tomatillos in order for them to pollinate correctly. So we have buddy friend over here and buddy friend over here. And these are the 3 that I decided to keep. I had hundreds and hundreds. These ones kind of beat the race and made it the fastest, made it the strongest, the fastest. And so I took everything else out pretty much. So isn't this crazy though? Look at how like thick the, look how thick the stem on this thing is, and it's just still so short. And like, look at this one. They just create the strongest stems, and then they just go insane, you guys. These plants are so vigorous. I'm so excited to see them. This one's probably just gonna hang over the edge and go crazy jungle tomatillo. And we have some onions in here too. I had extra onions when I planted all of our onions out, and I just ended up sticking them everywhere. These chives are not on purpose either. I had chives here a previous year, and I just can't seem to get all of it out. So it just keeps spreading. Marigold, because it's pretty and for good measure. Celery, another marigold. This is the one sunny in this bed that I'm letting volunteer and go because it was just so cute. We have some basil in the shade of it, more celery. Sorrel, that is a perennial from last year. Sorrel is another really cool perennial plant, which I love. Here's that other tomatillo buddy, more basil, and then I think that is either some beets or some Swiss chard or something. We have just lettuce everywhere too. There's basil, pepper plants, more celery, pepper plants. Here's a pepper plant. I actually don't like these cages for tomatoes, but I love them for peppers. They work better. And then here along the trellis, we've got a bunch of different tomatoes. We got a Rutgers, Brad's Atomic Grape, and then I'm not sure what this one is. Is there a tag here? That's for something else. More basils. The plan is to have the tomatoes, they'll vine up the trellis. And then I also am doing this fun thing. So because the cattle panel trellis like overlapped the raised beds, I planted in cucumber seeds on the corner of each. So you can see there's some there too. Yeah, there we go. So they'll be in the ground, but they'll still be able to utilize the trellis. And cucumbers and tomatoes, they grow pretty well together. So we have tomatoes on each one. I also have, I wonder if there's any germinated. Oh, there we go. So I planted red Malabar spinach in here in between the tomatoes. They're not all up yet. There's just a couple that are coming up. So that'll be fun to have red Malabar spinach kind of vining up the trellis with the tomatoes. And then here's the main crop of onions. These are like a super sweet or super, I don't know. They're some sort of yellow onion. And they are doing lovely. I've got a multi-sown in here like Charles Dowding says to do. Oh, look at that big one. It's like a golf ball sized one. Yeah, they're looking lovely. Oh, there's a really big one too. Look at that. Oh, the camera is not liking that. Well, it's in there. And then I just harvested all of my black radishes out of here. This was all full of black radishes, so we harvested all of those out, and we're letting this one go to seed so we can save seed from that. And radish flowers, and like letting a radish go to seed actually deters some pests, which is fun. So we got a bunch of peppers in here. These are all the unlabeled ones. I lost track of my labeling most of the way through my potting up and stuff, so these peppers are just unknowns. They're either shishitos, Jimmy Nardellos, purple bells, or chocolate bells, and so yeah. So coming through here, we actually have plans to, this is a muddy mess because it's a low spot, so we have plans to actually lay down landscape fabric in here and do some like gravel, because we have it and it's just kind of gross down in here. Here you can see there's more of my cucumbers, and then there's an okra, you guys. I planted in some okras. Another cucumber, and it might actually be a butternut, not a butternut, a honey nut squash. Those are like a mini butternut, and so I wanted to have those vine up too. But there's tomatillos, guys, everywhere. Like I said, tomatillos everywhere. The ones on the ground, if they make it, I generally just let them go, because why not? More food. So here's this bed. The eventual plan is to have this be an herb bed, but that just never works out because this lettuce just always self-seeds itself in here, and then I don't have to ever plant lettuce. It's pretty amazing. So we have some tomatoes also for the trellis. I'll tell varieties another time. But here we got some cilantro. This is actually a coriander from Europe. This seed came from a monastery in Europe. And then we have the Paris Island Cost lettuce, and this is a bee balm that's like being choked by lettuce. So we eat out of this thing every day. We're eating lettuce out of here every single day. Pretty crazy. But then we've got some calendula, some garlic chives, regular chives, just random stuff. We've got a bunch of herbs planted in here too. I've got to do several things that I have for this bed actually. But you can see this area was just recently harvested. We just recently finished this whole area right here. So that's cool to have like a little 2x2 space. Here I've been throwing all of the lettuce that's kind of the reject stuff. Whatever the chickens don't get goes in here because it'll just turn into compost. There's like another little tomato. Moving down through here, we're probably gonna get stuck in the mud. More tomatillos on the floor. This is the strawberry and asparagus bed, and it has a bunch of other stuff. So tomatoes are good companion plants for asparagus when the asparagus kind of finish out their stuff. So this is like first year asparagus crowns, and so they're going to seed, and we don't get to harvest off them. So they just do their thing. And then there's tomatoes kind of interplanted with them. These are tomatoes. And then there's strawberries and parsley. So this, we actually probably need to start picking on this. Parsley, and then borage. I don't ever have to plant borage because it just comes up wherever it wants, and I just kind of let it. And it's crazy. It will just keep seeding itself and grow new plants like every day. It's insane. It goes absolutely crazy. So I love it. I have to kind of keep it under control, but it's a fun one. Oh, and then I do have a little sweet banana pepper right here. I topped it so that it'll branch, so it looks kind of sad, but it'll come back. Look at these sunflowers. I have all these volunteer sunflowers that Spencer left. He mowed around them like the sweet man that he is. And then here we are coming into my potato patch, you guys. This is like, I'm so proud of this. I decided not to save it for a Three Sisters garden this year because I just didn't really like how it was turning out every time, and as much as I love a Three Sisters garden, I just can never grow enough corn for it to actually be worth it. So, potatoes. potatoes are totally worth it. We love potatoes. We eat a ton of potatoes. So we got 2 rows here. This one will be done first, and then this one. And this one's actually, I think it's already starting to kind of die back. On the bottoms, it already flowered, but they are huge, and I'm so proud of them. It's pretty cool. And then this bed is just full of randoms too. And we got some squashes down here. All of my purple things, all the things, not all of them, but some of them. I filled this mostly with purple stuff. Purple tomatillo. This one lost its head from the hail, and I'm just hoping that it pushes out some sort of like little leaf or something and comes back to life, because I don't know how this one's gonna get pollinated if it doesn't. So we'll see. We've got a bunch of lettuce and nasturtiums, so all the purples. So we got purple lettuce, purple tomatoes, purple peppers, chocolate peppers, onions, more lettuce, Swiss chard, more peppers and nasturtiums, and then down at the very end is the carrots. Ow, my toe hurts. I broke my toe the other day, you guys. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, these are really pretty. There's tomatoes planted in there with them because carrots love tomatoes. But these are awesome. I'm so stoked about having actual carrots. This is the first year we'll actually have legit carrots, you guys. Oh, I'm so hopeful that this little guy, I really think that it's gonna have a leaf come out like right there. I keep praying, come on little guy, come on, you can do it. Come on little plant. Because we need purple tomatillos. Mama wants purple tomatillos. Do you guys talk to your plants? I do. I think you have to. I think you just end up there eventually too. But it is good for them. Anyone who grows plants or has loved plants knows that plants like to be affirmed. They like to hear positive things and nice things. Oh, I love it. My backyard is really messy, so don't judge the backyard messiness. We share a garden space with children and dogs, and it is a backyard that we live in every single day that it's nice outside. And we love it. It's kind of a disaster, but we love it. Oh, look at this. I am, as you all know, I don't spray for weeds. I've been letting the plantain just take over this patch, so we have this whole huge patch of plantain. I don't know if I'll ever do anything with it, but I respect its purpose. And I think it's really beautiful, and it's not so bad to walk across. So yeah, there you have it, guys. I can't wait to see what the garden looks like in another month. We'll be turning over this space. The potatoes will probably be out of there in another month, so I think that space is most likely going to be fall root veggies. We'll plant that out with like rutabagas and beets in July, sometime like that. I don't know, that's kind of my idea. Maybe more potatoes. Maybe we'll just try to do another run of potatoes. I don't know, we'll see. A lot of these spaces will be transitioning over because we have potatoes here. All of the brassicas will be gone. We'll definitely be doing a lot of root veggies and probably get in some maybe faster summer squashes. We'll see. All right, guys. Well, that is about all. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me and seeing my garden on this beautiful June day. Yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section, and yeah, we'll see you out there.